Every life cycle has a beginning, and what you're seeing here is a female red admiral butterfly laying eggs on a stinging nettle. This is one of the two wild females that I caught, and I have placed her in this mesh enclosure with food and stinging nettle, their host plant. As you can see, the small dots already that you can see through the mesh are some of the eggs that they have been laying together. And as you can see, she's fluttering about in the sunlight. I wanted to see how many eggs I could obtain from doing this method, as I had previously never done it. And as you can see, both of them were in there. This is how I had it set up. Very, very simple. And after about a week, look how many eggs are on the top surface. And we are now going to raise them from egg until adult. A few days passed, and due to the heat, the eggs hatch pretty quickly. Here you see a lot of baby red admirals. They are very pale in color when they first emerge, and that is because they have basically eaten nothing apart from a small few bites of their eggs. So that is why they are pale white. But soon they will start to nibble on the soft nettle. A few days pass, and now it's time to transfer the small larva onto a fresher nettle. This process is very, very delicate, very tedious, and time consuming. In actuality, this whole process of getting every single larva onto the new plant took me about an hour and a half. But this is one of the most crucial steps that you must be willing to do if you want to have a successful raising batch. Giving the larva fresh food and keeping the larva on a live plant is way better than having to go back and forth and having to move them every day. And that is just what I'm doing here. Just very slowly, gently, one at a time with a paintbrush onto the top fresher parts of the new nettle. Another few days pass, and look how big that one larva is. Certainly you can distinguish which ones hatched out first and started eating first. But so far we've had very good progress. They are all eating well and all growing well, even if it might be at different speeds. And I just mainly care about everyone eating well and staying healthy. So far we are managing that. Good progress on the red admirals. Let's take a closer look. One thing about red admirals is that they make nests with the leaf like this, where they will chew the top base of the leaf to make it drop down, and that's so when they eat and food passes through them, their thrust drops due to gravity and drops down. They close both ends of the leaf using their own silk, and inside there is one just chilling. Here you can see one eating the flowers of the nettle. Its face is even getting covered in white pollen and dust from the flowers. This was quite nice to see from close. This is how the nettles were looking like. A lot of visible nests and feeding damage. This is a just molted larva into the 5th instar.
For Vanessa Atalanta, it's important to understand when to and not to move the larva. This is a 4th instar larva moving on to the 5th instar. As you can see, it has a really swollen head capsule, which means it's about to molt. So they'll be prepared to molt in their own nest, and you cannot physically move the caterpillar. You have to move him with his nest that it's been in. If you move the caterpillar, there's a high chance that it will die. You just cannot move them in this stage. So when you have caterpillars like this that look like this, please do not touch them, move them even with a paintbrush, because most likely they will not make it. Look at that, guys. We've reached the 5th instar. Look at those beautiful stripes there. Wow, amazing.
Before we knew it, most of them were in the 5th instar and getting really large. By this point, the feeding intensity increased massively.
This is the feeding damage so far. I have to say this is probably my favorite native species. I don't know what it is about them, but I just really like them. Not your average Monday. This is what you have to do when you're raising this many. So all of these are gonna go in these bottles, and also some of the bottles already in the enclosure. One bouquet of nettles, you could say. Good tip as well. When you're putting them in water like this, using this method, before you put them in, I like to cut a bit of the stem, and the reason why is because when you cut the plant and it takes you, let's say, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes, maybe more, to get home, the plant will produce, basically, it will seal it, right? So this will basically become watertight, and if you place this in water, well, it's obviously going to wilter and it's going to die even by the next morning. You'll be wondering, hey, how is this dying when I'm placing it in water? Well, that's the main reason, one of the main reasons. If you've been trying this method and it hasn't been working, try and cut just a tiny tip of the stem and place it in water straight away. Then you'll see after half an hour, the plant will go upright. If it was wilted when you got home, it will go upright and it will just be as if you got it straight away. So try that and let me know if it works.
For me, I always thought that the red admirals share a striking similarity to the peacocks and the painted ladies, and I wanted to research why that is. So, both the genus Vanessa, the red admiral, the painted lady, and Aglaïs, which is the peacock, and the small tortoiseshell, they belong to Nymphelini. Because they share a relatively recent common ancestor, their larvae share several defining physical traits. Branched spines, called scoli. The sharp-looking spikes aren't actually stings, they're fleshy projections covered in tiny bristles. They serve as a physical deterrent against predators like birds and parasitic wasps. White speckles, the tiny white dots sprinkling the body, are actually raised cetal bases, the spots where sensory hairs emerge. On a dark background, they create a high contrast pattern that helps break up the caterpillar's outline against leaves. The lateral stripes. The cream, yellow or orange wavy line along the lower sides runs right above the prolegs. Both red admirals and painted ladies often feature this continuous or segmented lateral stripe. The orange or yellow prolegs. The abdominal legs frequently carry reddish orange or dull yellow tones in both red admirals and peacocks, contrasting against their dark bodies. One fascinating quirk about red admiral caterpillars is their polymorphism. Their coloration isn't fixed. Dark morph. The classic dark form you're seeing right in front of you. It looks almost identical to a peacock caterpillar. However, the red admiral also has light forms. Other individuals in the same brood can turn out greenish yellow, mottled brown, or greyish with pale yellow spines. Evolutionary drivers behind their traits. Ancestral inheritance. Plesiomorphy. Because red admirals, painted ladies, and peacocks share a relatively recent common ancestor in the tribe Nymphelini, they inherit a similar genetic toolkit. Features like the fleshy branched spines and the light lateral stripes are ancient structural adaptations that their ancestor used to deter small predators, and all three species have kept them because they still work so well. The black body covered in fine white speckles acts as a visual defense mechanism. The distance camouflage. Up close, high contrast white dots on a black background look striking, but from a bird's perspective, high above a nettle patch. This contrast pattern breaks up the caterpillar's outline against shadowy foliage. Warning signals. The sharp spikes and bright white dots warn predators that the caterpillar is unpalatable or physically unpleasant to swallow. Because peacock caterpillars share this exact look, birds that learn to avoid a dark, spiky peacock caterpillar will automatically avoid a dark, spiky red admiral too, a benefit known as Müllerian mimicry. All the 5th instar caterpillars were quickly getting large and reaching the stage where they were about to J-hang. And here, many of them are J-hanging already. Many are even fresh chrysalis, some were already hard chrysalis, but the vast majority of the brood were starting to hang. Here you can see one of the chrysalis that are dried closer up. Still a lot of larvae eating and getting that final nutrition boost. For the chrysalis that had fallen or had slightly become detached from the plant, I put them in the bottom of a tub and they can emerge just fine laying on the bottom with a bit of paper towel. They will emerge perfectly fine, and after a week and a half I could start to see the chrysalis becoming slightly translucent and the patterns of the wings beginning to show. And then one morning, several eclosed. What a sight this is. It was then time to release them, and every morning when more would just eclose straight away, I'd be out on the balcony to let them fly away. I like to make them fly away as quickly as possible. Luckily the weather in England was very good, so they could fly as soon as they would emerge. And over the days and weeks, more emerged, and I was releasing more every morning. And it was this same cycle basically every day. It was very, very enjoyable. I always do love seeing good results, good results in the raising. But that has been raising Vanessa Atalanta from eggs. I did something different this time in that I got wild females and had them lay eggs in my little setup, and I will be doing this method more often.